2 years before I came here to speak on the Citizenship Amendment Act. And today this JB film brings me to you, and I see reception more than what it was for the Citizenship Amendment Act. If a film can have such an impact, I think we can start producing more films so that we'll have more attraction towards the theme which we want to take it to the people. Jai Bhim has now become a slogan for everybody. Whenever I go anywhere, people say, "Are you Jai Bhim Chandru?" So I have changed my name as Jai Bhim Chandru. Last week I came from Delhi to Chennai. The air hostess announced that Justice Chandru is traveling in the same flight. So every passenger is looking, who is Chandru? So the Jai Bhim film, in a way, brought the entire working people, entire thinking people into one stage. The stage being justice to the tribal people of this country. This film, which was based on a case which took place in 1993, when I was a lawyer 28 years ago. At that time, when I wrote about that book in various magazines, many people read and then passed it off another more book. This only shows that film has a greater impact. In fact, among all the arts in India, the film has a greatest impact because it is a production of collective mind. A story can be written by one author, a play can be written by one author, but a film cannot be produced by one person. It requires hundreds of people to work day and night to produce one film. And the visual impact is much more than reading a magazine or a newspaper or a book. Even my daughter used to say that you want me to read all your articles, if it's all uninteresting, you take one film, we'll watch and ask questions. So the film has also kindled a debate all over the country. The two messages I get from many people is that we are ashamed that we do not know such people are living amongst. One thing you must know, the film has not gone to the theatres. It is still under a OTT platform. And there is somebody who asked me, you are taking film about poor people, only showing to rich people. I think from the month of March it will come to the theatres, and it is the ordinary people of this country will view the film. Then you must see the impact of this film. Today whatever we have, it's only a classroom discussion or a air-conditioned hall discussions or bus stations and railway stations. It is the ordinary people that the film should kindle their spirit, in the sense the film is about the Adivasis of this country. The Moolvasis, as Dr. Ambedkar used to refer, of this country. There is a great deal about this film which I can go on describe, but the topic given to me is the civil right and social justice. I will also try to say how this film is attempting to serve the cause of civil right and the social justice. You will all know, few days back we celebrated the Law Day in this country. On 26 November 1949 is when the Constitution of India was finally adopted by the Constituent Assembly, and Dr. Ambedkar, while speaking on the motion to thank the members, said that I have given you the Constitution, it is for you to work the Constitution. By this independence of this country, we got political freedom. We are yet to get economic and social freedom in this country, and people will not wait forever. You know, the debate in the Constituent Assembly took 2.5 years for preparing a document which finally said, we the people of India give ourselves this Constitution to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. This word socialism and secularism was not there in the original draft. Therefore, when Prime Minister Modi prepared a new constitution and distributed to members 2 weeks before, a big coffee table book of the Constitution. In those days, Constitution, the original Constitution, they wrote by handwriting, what is called as a calligraphy, how they write Urdu. It was done by a calligraphist. And every page contained a picture. In the last page, everybody signed. Pandit Nehru, Rajendra Prasad, you can see the signatures. This was prepared at a cost of 2,000 rupees. This was the original text of the Constitution, given to judges, given to MPs, given to all VIPs in Delhi to be kept in their coffee table. What is a coffee table? When somebody comes, we may offer them to sit in our house in the front room, and there is a small table. We serve coffee. This book will be there, and people who don't have job, they will turn few pages and see this. Should the Constitution be exhibited in the 1949 version? Why is that Modi government so much interested in the 1949 version? That's most important. Because the word socialism and secularism is absent in the original Constitution. Our Constitution is so dynamic. The Constitution has been amended 102 times. Every amendment is part of the Constitution. It is not a separate text. Once there is an amendment, it becomes part of the original text. Now the original text, instead of showing to the people, why is that 1949 text is shown? It's only because Modi government doesn't want socialism, Modi government doesn't want secularism. Today they are selling every public sector, every Navaratna industries which they call as a profit-making institution, biggest profit-making institution. They are selling it for a song. Today the selling is done to few individuals. In our school days and college days, we used to say Tata Birla government. Today it is Adani and Ambani government. Every property of this country is going to two families in this country, and therefore socialism should be forgotten. People should lose jobs. Government should bankrupt itself by selling all these public sector industries. LIC is sought to be privatized, which is a monolith institution. The only life insurance corporation in India is sought to be diluted. Therefore, the socialism is really irking them. They don't want that word. How to get out that word? You can't blame the printer. Therefore, go to the old text where this word is absent. Then secularism, again a red herring for this government. They want one nation, one people, one religion, and one food also soon. And when this concept is coming forward, they want to coolly forget what is secularism. Secularism only means the state shall not involve in any religion. It gives equal respect to all religion. Under Article 25 and 26, right to freedom of religion, right to have faith in any religion of their own choice is guaranteed by the original Constitution. Now, in order to make it more emphasis, more particular, in 1976, 42nd Amendment was brought in where the word socialism and secularism was added in the preamble of the Constitution. What is a preamble? You enter a house, there is light there inside. The house is locked from outside. From the keyhole you want to see whether anybody is there or not. A preamble to the Constitution is merely a keyhole. It does not show the full picture, but it shows there is life inside. The Supreme Court said preamble to the Constitution is a basic structure of the Constitution. It can't be altered by any person. It can't be taken away by any person. Not only 42nd Amendment brought in the word socialism and secularism, the Representation of People's Act, by which political parties are registered, are required to incorporate the word socialism and secularism in their party constitution also. You will be surprised or you will be shocked. Even BJP constitution has got the word socialism and secularism. Does it mean they are practicing secularism? Does it mean they are believing in socialism? But in law, they cannot be a political party unless they believe the words socialism and secularism. What they do is they make amendments to their constitution, but they act opposite. They have no faith. They are doing lip service. It is only because of that a 2,000 rupee constitution is produced without the word socialism and secularism and distributed to VIPs. The constitution is not meant for VIPs. It's meant for the ordinary people of this country. It is meant for the Harijan, Girijan masses of this country. It is drafted so beautifully by Dr. Ambedkar. He also said, if this constitution is not going to work, then the India will not be India. There will be revolution in this country. We have been working this constitution for the last 71 years, attempting to work on this constitution. You see our neighbors, you see Bangladesh, you see Nepal, you see Pakistan. There is so many coups, there is so many military takeover. The constitution only exists in paper. Whereas we are able to work this constitution only because the people believe in this constitution. That is what this film also trying to say, that people believe in law, believe in constitution, trying to work this constitution, trying to regain their right through the court of law, and trying to use the legal language for securing justice. In fact, in one scene, the hero will be heard saying that law is a weapon to be used for the people from the getting orders from court. There are many people who ask, do you sincerely believe that the court will give relief to the people? Do you think the change will come in this country only by court orders? Do you think that the structure of this country can be changed? Do you think the poor will become rich because of court orders? No, we have no such illusion. It is not our attempt to make that there is a legal illusion that the court can give everything. But one thing you must understand, that if there is going to be an existing law, if there is going to be a constitution in this country, the constitution has to work. Only on its working, you will have to see whether it fails or whether it succeeds, whether it partially succeeds or it not at all succeeds. This is something can be seen only by a court action. There was a time when we used to believe that the constitution is a mere paper document. Constitution is produced only by wealthy people, not by elected representatives. Constitution does not mean anything. Constitution should be thrown into lock, stock and barrel into Bay of Bengal. This was the belief we had until 1975, when Mrs. Gandhi brought emergency, put every leader inside, all under detention without any trial. Anybody who questions will be put inside, and the freedom of expression was curtailed, and fundamental rights were suspended. Courts were asked not to hear any such cases. Justice Chennappa Reddy, who hails from this region, was hearing a Misa detention and wanting to give relief. He was transferred to Punjab and Chandigarh at that time in 1975 by a punishment transfer. Judiciary was played as a football in those times, and therefore it was the national emergency which was declared in 75 to 77, which opened the eyes of many people that this constitution has to be protected. It can't be subverted by people who have no faith in this constitution. Therefore, the people who never believed the constitution started believing the constitution, started fighting for the constitution. The people who swear by the constitution were the people who are trying to destroy the constitution. That was in 1975. And now looking back on it, 1975 looks much better than what is happening today. Today we wonder whether we have an elected government which will go by the constitutional spirit. That's the most important question we'll have to ask. Many fundamental questions are being raised. You take the question of law or the constitution. Does the constitution answer questions of public importance? Does the constitution and law made by this parliament answer or can be enforced in court of law? We had a case which went for 50 years, right from our independence. Somebody owned a place of worship in Ayodhya. Somebody else wanted that place. How do you get that place? Go to court, establish your right, show the documents. This is my grandfather's or forefathers. On the contrary, new arguments are being advanced that the majority people believe that we had a place of worship here and somebody else take it away 500 years ago. Now we continue to worship here. What is the proof? Our faith is the proof. Whose faith? Is the faith of the majority or the faith of the minority? Supreme Court unable to say answer on this. It is the majority's faith that holds field in this country. This is how we see that the courts which are empowered to decide the basic questions of the people's right are now turning the other way around by saying that we will go by the majoritarian fight. In 1992, when the Babri Masjid was demolished, we heard some leaders saying, court cannot solve all problems. Constitution is not the answer. Every issue of the citizen cannot be decided by the court. If there is no need to be court, then why there need to be any government? Why there need to be any party? Why there need to be any ruling government? Now they are openly by saying that the constitution cannot answer. It is those people who are now printing the old constitution and distributing it as a coffee table book. They want only in our memory, only like a souvenir, not a working constitution. Therefore, the people of this country are asking the question, is the constitution meant for fraternity, equality and liberty, the three words which Ambedkar incorporated in the preamble? Many people used to say that these words are Western ideas. This came from the French Revolution. But on the contrary, Dr. Ambedkar, speaking in the All India Radio in 1954, said that these words, many people think that I borrow from the French Revolution. I beg to disagree. These are the words given by my master, Lord Buddha. These are the words from Sangha and Dhamma. I have not borrowed from any Western philosophy. These are the words which have been enshrined in the Indian original philosophical thinking, and therefore I have incorporated this word. Perhaps the only constitution in this world which has a social philosophy. Many constitutions, there is the American constitution, there is also constitution of France, Germany. Britain doesn't have a constitution, but still they have some principles. Now in all these constitutions, the philosophy is not written into the constitution. Perhaps the only difference is our constitution, there is a philosophy. What is the philosophy? Philosophy of jurisprudence of the poor people. Every article that you read, it will ring the truth that it is meant for the common people of this country. Every article, any article you take, Article 17, nowhere in the world you will find untouchability abolished in all forms. Parliament can make laws. In all forms mean what? What is untouchability? Unheard of in any country in the world. We have a caste system. We have a varnashrama. In that varnashrama you have a caste hierarchy. But there is some people who do not belong to this varnashrama. They are the avarnas and we are the savarnas. Then what do? Savarnas has to stand out. They are the excluded society. But the constitution says, no, they are included society. No form of untouchability can be ever practiced by anybody. Whatever high or low position they have, it cannot be there. In order to enforce this, in 1955, a Protection of Civil Rights Act was brought in. If you call somebody bad words, caste words, he can be prosecuted. If you deny access to market, if you deny access to tank, if you deny access to water supply, they can be prosecuted. But that did not help, because in this country, the lands of the scheduled caste people, the lands of the Adivasis have been taken away by the landlords, have been appropriated by force. There are economic rights for these people. In order to protect the economic interests, the new act was brought in 1989, Scheduled Caste, Scheduled Tribe, Prevention of Atrocities Act, 1989. The act was more drastic. The act has got enhanced punishment. But still the act did not work. The act was very much there on paper. Therefore, Parliament amended in 2017. An amendment was brought in where they said the victims will be heard by court at all stages. From the bail to conviction, the victims can have their own lawyers. Victims can have their own prosecutor. Victims can oppose bail application. No court can give bail without the victim being heard. Now amendments are being struck down by the judiciary. The Supreme Court said these amendments are unconstitutional. And then once again Parliament, because there were agitations all over, Parliament amended the law, said the judgment is wrong. They brought back the same amendment. Once again the matter went to the court, and the court in 2020 said these laws are valid. The allegation that this act is being misused is a bogus allegation, because the act has never been used at all. That is what the Supreme Court itself said. Not one judge or three judges have said that the bogus allegation that the SC/ST Act is being misused can never be accepted, because it has never been used at all. We'll have to wait and see in the next 10 years whether the act will be put to use or not. But till such time, the Adivasis being deprived of all their fundamental rights will continue. the scheduled caste being abused and their land being taken away and their women being put to gravest sexual harassment will continue. But then what do? We protest, we form DSSW, we take them to the temple, we demolished caste walls in Madurai, in South Tamil Nadu. A wall in a village was erected 60 feet length, 15 feet height between the main village and the scheduled caste colony. When the people questioned it, the DSSW in Tamil Nadu questioned this, how you are erecting the wall. They produced a paper by saying that the scheduled caste people have agreed to have the wall. Do you ask a slave whether you want freedom? That's a question. We asked the question, the caste wall cannot be there. It will be demolished. People were mobilized for demolishing the wall. Finally, government came and demolished a portion of the wall. And then later by my orders, the entire wall was demolished. When the wall was demolished, I went and took a brick and kept in my table. When I was a judge, it was kept in my table. Anybody who enters will ask, what is this brick is doing in your, is it a paperweight? It looks so ugly. I said, every brick will look ugly only unless the building comes finished fast. Then why you are keeping this? This is the wall which divided the people. Now the will of the people has united the people and the wall is gone. And for every person we go tell them. Does it mean we'll have to tell all the people that there is untouchability? It has been practiced in different forms and it requires police, judiciary, government to demolish the wall. Every person has to know. In fact, one of the leaders of the scheduled caste in Tamil Nadu made a very beautiful statement. So far the scheduled caste had Ambedkar. We need Ambedkar for the non-scheduled caste people. Wow. Because we have enough Ambedkar for the scheduled caste people. We don't need any more Ambedkar. Ambedkars are required for the non-scheduled caste people because they should realize what they are doing or what they are perpetuating, what they are witnessing is something not constitutionally permitted. Many youngsters after seeing this film wrote to me by saying that we do not know such people are living amongst us. We feel guilty. Next question is not charity. Please tell us what we should do. They are not asking for charity. The youth of this country begin to realize that they are in a way responsible for the exclusion of this group. They should be brought within and therefore they are also ready to take up the challenges posed by the society. It may be one case of lock-up death, but the film producers have done a great work, not shown a crime thriller. On the other hand, it showed the life of the tribal people, one particular tribe, Irulas. They are snake charmers, but they are dignified people. They know the environment, they know the ecology, they know the biosphere. There is a dialogue in this film, you will see, the rats eat grain, the snake eats the rats, and which is a good one? We try to beat the snake when we see the snakes. In order to catch the rats, we bring them Irulas inside. But the Irulas never kill any snakes. On the other hand, they think it's a friendly force in an environmental angle. This life nobody knew. How, when we are afraid and we are worshipping the snake gods, these people have no fear. Even a child goes and catches a snake. But they're not to kill. It's a friendly force in an environment. How many people knew that the Adivasis in this country live along with the nature? They don't destroy the nature, but we are having increasingly changes in the Forest Act. In the Forest Act, instead of rehabilitating them, instead of making their own shelter in a forest, are trying to drive them out. When the Forest Act was made 150 years ago by the British, they thought forests will be saved. But today forests will be saved if there is no forest department. We should have Adivasis manning these forests. That is why even in the Constitution, if you see Schedule 6, there is an autonomous areas have been created for the tribal people. We have a full Constitution. We have Assembly and Parliament in Andhra Pradesh. But in some other scheduled tribe areas, we do not have. They have their own social councils which will govern them. Why? Because the Adivasis will have their own identity. They will not be brought into the so-called mainstream so-called civilized society and finally finished off. It is they who are civilized. It is we who are not civilized. We are using the police force to kill them, to blame them. When the British came here, they established the police not for investigation of crimes. They established the police only for law and order, so that the British government is not threatened, so that the colonial government is not threatened. Therefore, they established the police. In Tamil Nadu and in Andhra Pradesh, we are governed by a police act which was enacted in 1888. Even today, what happened to the investigation? If there is a crime, who will investigate? Then the British found, with their own ingenious brain, they found what is called Criminal Tribes Act. According to them, some tribes are always criminals. And therefore, how do you control crime? They brought Criminal Tribes Act. Then what is the act that will do? Every tribal person who is a male, who is 16 years old, they will have to register with the police station. What do they register? They register their fingerprints, they register their eye mark, they register their body mark, they register their height, weight, color of the hair, everything is registered. Why? If there is a crime in an area, there will be tandoras, there will be tom-tom. There is a crime here, all the males of the tribe should be surrender in the police station. Then in the circle police station, all the male members of the tribe must surrender within 24 hours. If they do not surrender 24 hours, the person who is absconding is a criminal. What a way to find out crime. An inspector becomes a judge. A police station becomes a court. What is the evidence? No evidence. Because you are a tribe, you are a criminal. And they will be punished. No courts are there. No need for constitution. This is how the British was treating these criminal tribes. The Congress party and supported by Communist party were demanding, this is the indignity. It is uncivilized to punish a whole tribe of people for the crime which they never committed. And British refused to remove this law till they were ruling in this country till 1947. In Tripura, in 1936, there was a conference where a resolution was passed. This tribal act should be removed. This criminal tribe act should go. But the British did not hesitate. They did not want to this act go. According to them, this is the best way of putting the tribals into their place, because they knew tribals will not obey their command. The tribals have their own civilization, their own government, their own society, their own norms, their own life. And that life is quite different from the imported life of the British. And after the independence, this act was repealed. When it was repealed, what happens? This is called denotified tribe. They are no longer the tribe. That is D and T. It has got different names in different languages, but in English it is D and T, because they are no longer criminal tribes. They are allowed to live freely they want. But that doesn't happen. Today the police force in this country thinks the denotified tribes are the criminal tribes. That is what the film also shows. In the beginning you will see they are coming out of the jail. The Vaddars, the Koravas, the Irulas, and police waiting there, not to take them home, to put them back into the jail in another case. So whenever there is an unresolved crime, it is easy for the police today to put them inside the same tribe. In the particular village in which we have seen the film, there is some theft in a rice mill owner's house. He gives a complaint, but the thief shares the booty with the police themselves. Now police will have to solve the problem, because there is a query from outside saying what happened to the crime case. The inspector is under pressure. Though he takes tablet and drinking water for his BP, but is yet to beat up these people. For what purpose? To accept the crime which they never committed. Then the crime is resolved. If they commit themselves, yes, I did this. Then it reports to the officers, crime resolved. Now in this case, the Korava tribe who allegedly committed the theft did not accept. Then there is a punishment of torture. He dies in the end. Even to know whether he dead or not, they buy chili powder and put in his eyes to see whether eyelids are having any sense or not. This all happened. It is not for the movie. For once you must think, this movie was also based on some real life story. They went to a provision store, took money and got some chili powder, put on the eyes of Raja Kannam. And when they found his eyelids are not moving, They said he is dead and gone. The other two boys were beaten and said, we see you again in this place. You will also face the death of your uncle. Go away. Never to be seen anywhere in this place. So they ran for their life, went to Kerala, far away Kerala, staying in some village, working as menial, domestic servant. So when the case came to court, we don't know what happened to the two people. We were in search of them. Without them, there is no eyewitness. Without them, the case also will not go for a final. Therefore, we went in search of them and found them in some Kerala remote village. We brought them. We took their statement, show it to the court. Then the court said, this is a case of murder, not a mere arrest and lock-up torture. That Raja Khan has been killed by the police. Yes, a SIT was appointed by IG Perumal Sami, and he found within 30 days that the police not only killed him, but also disposed of the body in some inter-district border. So the records were obtained, and finally murder charges were there. In 2004, all the policemen were convicted for life sentence. In 2007, High Court dismissed their appeal. So it took 13 years for the case to be over. But nevertheless, the tribal woman was given compensation and also a house site. When I asked the judges that this woman should be given a house site, judges said, what else you want? I said, it is only because there is nobody in the village to speak for them, because they are not part of the village. They are totally kept outside the village. Once Mahatma Gandhi said, India lives in villages. Dr. Ambedkar asked him, which village you are talking about? In India, every village, there are two villages. There is a main village, there is a colony of the scheduled caste. There are two villages in India. Babuji, which village you are talking about? India lives in village means. Now when this director of this film went to locate locations, we went to the colony and asked them, where are these Irula tribe? They showed some other place. Now India lives in three villages. There is a main village, there is a scheduled caste village, there is a scheduled tribe village. And what happens to these people? No electoral cards. They are not voters. No ration card, because they are not people of this country. Where do they live? They live under a tree bottom with some thatched sheds. Do they have pattas? No pattas. Any government scheme come to them? No. Where do they make employment? They work as bonded labor in Brooklyn, in some coconut groves, mango groves. What do they eat? Many times they eat only rats. And this is a very pathetic situation. So what is this movie is talking about? It's not the Raja Kannu and Sengeni story. It's a story of thousands of people. In Tamil Nadu, we have 1% scheduled tribe population, which means 8 lakh people are scheduled tribes. Where do they live? They live away from civilization. And unless we say, this is civilization, this is not the civilization at all. This is a rat race. At least honorably they are eating the rat so that our grains are saved. But we are having a rat race. We have a false civilization. And we do not even recognize them. For the first time, this film brought the people to a center stage. Everybody now talks about. And what did Ambedkar say? What do these people want? They want civic rights. They want to be Indian. They want to live in this sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. Who stops them? It is this system which stops them. That is why we talk about social justice. One of the social justice today is the right to free education. Now you see in the beginning, the girl comes and says, puts her finger in the court papers, the mother. She doesn't know, she's an unlettered person. Education has never gone to them. In the end, her daughter Lalli reads a newspaper sitting in the lawyer's office. And that is a transition. This is what Dr. Ambedkar said, learn, educate and agitate. This is the message. I went to Kerala last week. I found in the CPM party conference posters, the last scene is put. Because this is a message, a universal message. Literacy emancipate people. Supreme Court has said in Mohini Jain case that people cannot have animal living. People should have dignity. When they will have dignity? Only when they have education. How will they education? They'll have to get compulsory free education. Today under Article 21A, we have a compulsory free education. Though maybe in paper, But nevertheless, this film establishes the fundamental fact that these people are entitled to education, to literacy, and that girl is the future of the tribal people. And after this film came, our Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu came to view the film. And he wrote a 2-page letter to the producers saying that if there is going to be honest police officer, a courageous lawyer, and a judge with integrity and constitutional vision, many of these injustices can be stopped. It may be a wishful thinking. It may be a reality also. But this film shows some honest police officer, some lawyer fighting for the right. Ultimately, what about the judge? That judge came from Patna, not from Tamil Nadu. Even before 1990, we had Tamil Nadu judges. We have a history of 153 years of High Court in Tamil Nadu, which is also part of this coastal Andhra once upon a time. Now, why did not these judges think earlier that the same power we should exercise? Was not P.S. Misra, before there are judges, before there was not the same constitution, before they are not exercising same power, it also requires a mindset, a thinking process. I may have the power, I must be able to exercise the power. It's only a person who exercises the power is a judge. A person who refuses to exercise is only a stone. Now, why should we seek justice in court? The hero says that law is a weapon. It can redeem certain rights of the people. And it did redeem the rights of the people. In my 30 years of a lawyer, I found number of workers, number of poor people, we got some relief. It doesn't mean there was no relief given by court. It may not be up to our expectation. We do not think that the court will change the structure of this country. The court will bring fundamental change in this country. On the other hand, whatever relief that we want, if a man is thirsty, you give him a glass of water. You don't tell him Nagarjuna Sagar, water will come, wait for 4 years. A law or a litigation is only a first aid. A man requires surgery, but many times first aid saves a person. If a person is injured in a road, you take him to the hospital, there is a chance of his survival. But you simply look and go the other way around, he may die also. So what is required by court is some kind of a first aid. And that first aid has been given in this case also. Some compensation is given, some house site is given, and police are prosecuted and proved that they have gone life sentence. All this is there. The same Misra was transferred. In fact, he was not only this case, he has dealt with number of cases in Madras High Court. Even before in 1990, he dealt with the case of a Padmini, who was a girl who was raped and her husband was killed in police station. He appointed a SIT. He gave compensation. He gave the girl a government employment and she is in government service today. Now all this, how it come from one individual? The same judge was transferred to Patna, Andhra Pradesh. He became Chief Justice here and he continued his good work in Andhra Pradesh High Court also, in Hyderabad. I know Mr. Kannabiran, one of the leading civil rights lawyers, telling me that Misra did excellent work here. In respect of encounter death, he was able to give relief to many cases. So this is something a judge who goes to Madras, who goes to Hyderabad, and that's the same thing. But he was superseded. He was not elevated to Supreme Court. So he resigned. When he found his junior became a Supreme Court judge, he felt it is not worth continuing. He became a Supreme Court lawyer and very successful lawyer. Last year he passed away. Last week I went to Patna, met Mrs. Misra and thanked her. It is because of your husband there is Jai Bhim. Individuals do make in this society. We are not talking about personality cult or hero worship. In this film, the lawyer is not shown as a superhero. There are no fight, there are no love stories, but still he speaks in a very mild language in court, gets a relief. The idea is not to make people, ordinary people, into heroes, but there are some personalities we do count. It is P.S. Misra, but for him this case would not have been there at all. We need conscientious judges, but on the contrary, what we find in Andhra Pradesh, we find a judiciary trying to corner an elected government. Have you ever seen papers? In fact, last week I wrote in the Hindu a center page article how this Andhra Pradesh Capital Act was withdrawn without a court verdict. because they could not face the court, not because they could not face the court. The judges who were hearing this case were also holding lands in Amaravati. The government asked him, don't hear this case because there is a likelihood of bias. The judge said, no, we will hear this case. Then where is justice? From the executive functions contrary to law, we go to court. When the judiciary goes in a different direction, where do we go? That is the question. One judge wrote in Andhra Pradesh court, they did not file a reply within time. The judge wrote, if tomorrow the reply is not filed, we will tell the president to invoke president rule in this country. Who are the judges who are saying all this? There is an elected government. In the constitution, the executive, the legislature, the judiciary has to function within the field allotted to them. They cannot overstep. On the contrary, we find if somebody puts in a social media, CBI inquiry is ordered. If a FIR registered against land dealing, FIR is quashed. If a government doesn't file a reply, we will bring president rule. On top of all this, they are refusing to recuse themselves from hearing a case, knowing fully well they own land in Amaravati. How will they hear this case? If they have conscience, if there is a small allegation that you are likely to be biased, you should step out of this. But that doesn't happen. An elected government is cornered by judicial action, never heard of. We look to the judiciary for redeeming our fundamental rights, for getting social justice, for redeeming our civil right. On the contrary, we find the opposite. Therefore, our job is not merely court. That is why this film also says one thing. After winning this case, the hero goes and tells the woman, this judgment is not for you. This judgment is more Raja Kannu should not die. How will more Raja Kannu cannot die? They form an organization. They have a banner. They have an organization. They take to streets. They have placards. They have our own demand. People who are either being considered as outsiders, as unlawfuls, as people who are away, are now come to the mainstream. They take marcha in the streets meant for the so-called civilized people. And that is a message. It is not individual adventurism. It is an organization which has a definite demand. And people lead them to a path of agitation. So learn, educate, agitate. Remember Dr. Ambedkar's word. Thank you.